there's a few things that I would actually do, right? Where I've said this before. I will actually go in, put my tour on hold, and start at the bottom at SNL. I'd do it for 1 year. Just have the experience.
Just like you would start as like a PA or something.
No. I'm not.
I was like, what do you
Jesus.
mean?
No.
You're going to
No,
go to the
like
mailroom?
No, like on the writing as what are they? The guys that aren't fully cast members, but like
The writers?
also starring. You know.
Oh,
You
so
know, like I go in and I write, and I'll be one of the people, like the low level. She's always like, there's the cast, and then there's the starring.
so you're saying you would go be on
Yeah.
SNL?
Yeah.
That's
Well, yeah.
the big sacrifice you're going to make? Is
Yeah.
be on Saturday
Yeah.
Night Live?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
only comedy institution that's been running
Yeah.
for decades?
You heard it.
Wow, man. That's a crazy thing.
I bring with me a big audience.
Yeah, of course. You'd be great on it, but don't do it.
But I would do
That's
it. I would
not
do
your
it.
path.
I would. But no, the only reason I would do it would be I wouldn't do it for years. I'd do it for a year because I'd want to see what that whole world was like.
I've done it. I wrote there for a week.
Oh, for real?
And then I hosted for a week. So I wrote there.
You
for
hosted
a-
SNL?
Yeah, I hosted SNL.
Was it worth it?
Yeah, I can't wait to do it again.
Are you doing it again?
No, I would love to do it
Yeah.
again, but I cannot wait to do it again because as soon as it was done, and my episode was good. For me, it was like, I want the monologue to be killer, and I hadn't been doing stand-up, but it was one of those things where I was like, I want my monologue to be about something, and in the middle of the night, I couldn't sleep. And it was one of those things that happen sometimes where you're just like, oh, I just wrote the 10-minute monologue.
Yeah.
And I rewrote it. I worked it a lot at the Cellar,
Yeah.
like such a great room. But that was basically the structure of it, was just like middle of the night. I wrote it. So all this to say, if I go back, as soon as it was over, I was like, when I do this again, I know how I want to approach it differently. I wrote there for 1 week as like a trial thing in like right before Silicon Valley, where I went in as a trial writer. I'd just done the Melbourne Comedy Festival when I got the call. They were like, hey, come write for a couple weeks. I wrote for a week. And then Seth Meyers was the head writer there.
Yeah.
Great guy. And when it was done, I just signed with an agency. And they called me and they were like, great news. They want you to finish out the season 6 more weeks. And I said, okay. And I called up my manager and I said, I don't want you to ask me any questions about it. I don't want you to try and talk me into this. I'm just going to say one thing to you, and that's what's going to happen. I don't want to do Saturday Night Live. And she said, got it. And she called my agents. My agents were like, they must have been like, what the fuck? We just signed this like open mic comedian and he gets to be a writer for SNL. He doesn't want to do it. And yeah. And then I've seen, writers from there since then. And when I went back, they're like, oh, you're the guy that didn't do SNL. Like they all know about it.
Really?
Yeah. I just realized it wasn't for me because I hadn't come from the world of sketch. I didn't grow up with sketch. Like I love SNL, but I didn't grow up with it, so it doesn't have that like power over me like it does for a lot of people. I didn't grow up with it.
Yeah.
I've only seen it since I moved to America,
And and you didn't even get the good years.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
But you missed like Farley.
Yeah, that was before
That was
my
the.
time.
I mean, that was the ones.
Sandler, Farley, Spade.
I mean, look, I'm not taking away everyone.
No,
who
I know
knows
what
how
you
I feel
mean.
about Kristen Wiig and fucking and all, like
Sudeikis and Hader. And,
they're all amazing.
But Will Ferrell, that was before my time. You know?
Oh yeah, and Will Ferrell. When I moved to New York, Will Ferrell was big.
Really?
When I moved to New York, and I would go to the cast parties after the show.
Yeah.
And Will Ferrell was a very sweet, goofy as
He's
fuck
still
guy.
a very sweet guy.
Yeah, he was goofy as fuck.
I remember one of my first. I had like when you move to LA and you have a new agency and they set you up with general meetings. I was at like some fucking lot, Sony or something, completely lost in this huge it's all these big white buildings. I had no idea where to go. And there was a guy on his phone facing away from me, just standing outside, and I was like, excuse me, do you know where this building is? And he turns around, and it's fucking Will Ferrell. And I was like, oh, shit, I'm in L.A. And he told me where the building was. And I was like, okay, thank you, man. And I was like, shit, I just talked to Will Ferrell. But, yeah, it just wasn't for me. I realized I'm not good at sketch. It's also not something that I want to break my back being good at. Like
Yeah.
I want to be great at the stuff that I love.
I'm never gonna be like who's the lady that just Kate McKinnon? I'll never be as good as Kate
Yeah,
McKinnon
Kate is one of the most talented sketch performers in history.
in history.
And I will never be that. It honestly, it would sort of be hard for me sometimes because I'm friends with Kroll, and he's so good at these
great
characters
at
and sketch and
characters.
stuff. And I was sort of like, I would feel bad about it. I was like, why can't I do that? And now I'm like, you know what? I have the things I can do, and I have the things I can't do, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Like I just have to focus on, and part of it comes from passion and love. Like I just don't. I love Mr. Show,
love
that
Mr.
like
Show.
changed my life. But I was never like a sketch guy, and it's still
Yeah.
not like my favorite thing. Doing SNL is awesome. It's really exciting because it really stretches you. It's really good. But for me, I just couldn't. I just was like flattered that they wanted me to do it, but I wasn't good at it.
Bert and Tom and Bert. One goes topless while the other wears a shirt. Tom tells stories and Bert's the machine. There's not a chance in hell that they'll keep it clean. Here's what we call two bears, one cave.